Welcome everybody to members in the gallery. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we gathered here today, the Wurundjeri people, and pay my respects to elders both past and present. Item 1 is membership, and membership is as listed in the agenda. Item 2, apologies. There are no apologies. Item 3, disclosures of conflicts of interest. I'd like to disclose that I have a conflict of interest for the agenda item that we are considering tonight regarding overseas travel due to an indirect interest as an interested party. I'm assuming that there are no other disclosures. Thank you. Item 4, consideration reports, 4.1 overseas travel. So I will vacate the chamber and hand it over to Councillor Greco.
Okay, councillors, because we're dealing with item 4.1, consideration of reports, overseas travel in relation to the Mayor.
Thank you. I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Okay, moved by and seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Just a correction, I think.
It's okay, it's fine.
I withdraw my seconding.
No, it's not too late, it's fine.
I'll make a ruling and I'll say that it's seconded by Councillor Massini. So, Councillor Muba, would you like to speak in relation to the motion?
Certainly. I think that we should all be very pleased and very proud that Councillor Lasserf, Mayor Lasserf, has been invited to present at this conference. I think that that can only reflect well on the whole of Darebin and on the work that we're doing here. And I understand that in many ways Mayor Lasserf has brought with her to her role on council a great deal of previous skill and expertise and knowledge in this area, which has contributed no doubt to the invitation that she has received. It is worth noting that she has been invited to come, all expenses paid as it were by the organisers, who will be paying for the airfare and accommodation. So whilst this is a great honour, I think, to Darebin and will reflect very positively on Darebin, it's actually not at expense to Darebin taxpayers, and for that reason I think we can support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you for that.
Chair, I've just got a question.
Do you mind standing, Councillor?
Yes. Mr.
And welcome back, Councillor.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I just wanted a question about process question on this meeting itself. And fundamentally, I want to know why this is a matter of urgency that has required a calling of a meeting with only 4 days public notice, which normally, if it was dealt with during a council meeting, would have had a full agenda published for people to see over 7 days. And if it was a normal special council meeting, that is an unurgent one, a non-urgent one, again it would have had 7 days notice. So why is it an urgent one?
Okay, Councillor, I'll try to answer that. And I think it's mentioned in the report that why it's an urgent item and why a special meeting has been called. And you're absolutely right that when a special meeting is called, it requires 7 days notice. But there are provisions in the Act to call a special meeting within 7 days, as long as we go through a process and a procedure. But why the meeting has been called so urgently is that the council needs to make a decision on this, on whether Darebin's mayor is able to attend this conference, which will be held in China. And we will require to provide that information, I believe, tomorrow morning sometime, in order to confirm the attendance of our mayor. If the council deems that our mayor is worthy to go, we'll need to communicate that tomorrow to the conference organisers, which then enables the mayor to attend the conference. That's why it was called in such an urgent time frame. I'm not sure if the CEO would like to add anything further to that? Okay.
Well, just a supplementary question on that. So, and just to clarify matters, as I understand it, it is possible to have a special council meeting and only give 4 days' notice. But of course, it's not desirable. It's more desirable to have 7 days advertising as per normal meetings. The reason being, it obviously gives the public and our community time to understand and digest what the council is considering. So when was the Mayor notified about this matter?
Councillor Lawrence, I agree with you that it is desirable to give 7 days notice as it's required by the Act, but the Act also says that and recognises that some special meetings may need to be called within the 7 days, and there are provisions in the Act to do that. This is one of those circumstances, and we're following the correct procedure in relation to that. It's been properly advertised within those time constraints. We have members of the audience in the gallery that obviously have been notified and all found out about the special meeting as a result of our notification. In relation to when the Mayor actually found out about it, meeting was then immediately called so that we could meet the time frames of making a decision. Councillor McCarthy?
If I can, and it's just, I asked the same question in relation to the time process, and from my conversation with the Mayor, she was invited on Thursday last week and needed to be able to tell the organisers today. So, in terms of providing the maximum amount of notice for tonight's meeting, I think that obviously that's been achieved. I think we should be enormously proud that our Mayor has been invited, and I think that beyond the questions that Councillor Lawrence has raised, which I think have been adequately answered, I'd like to support the recommendation that we give the endorsement of our Mayor to attend this conference. So a second, or comments, I think the seconder actually hasn't spoken though, so
no, I haven't, but I think...
So.
Okay, any further questions? Yes.
Just as previous mayors when they go overseas, and I'd like to keep obviously consistent when we do things, that the Mayor provide a report on what the economic development is and benefits to have here in Darebin, not only to the residents but to the community, as this should be the focus of the Mayor's trip.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. If you may want to consider an amendment to the motion that's being put, so that we can actually include that additional point, and when it's your time to do that, we could actually include. But so we've had the mover of the motion speak. We have the seconder of the motion speak, Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess this council is a progressive, innovative council. Our Climate Action Plan, our Energy Foundation and our Nature Trust Foundations are examples of our innovations and our leadership. Mayor Lasserf's been invited. It's a display of her leadership. It's a display of this council's leadership. The fact that it's not at the expense of ratepayers and residents, I fully endorse the trip, and I'm proud to say that she's going.
Thank you, Councillor.
She's been invited, I'm sorry.
Okay, Councillor Williams, would you like to then just invite you to, if you want to speak to the motion and also suggest your amendment to the mover and the seconder?
I'd like to, I find that we put a policy in a couple of years ago regarding overseas trips, where we put a hold on all overseas trips, not only because there's kickbacks, or that even if they were free, it always comes back. There's no such thing as a free handout. It always comes back where we have to be like a sister, or there'll be some sort of exchange later down the track. So I find this a bit unusual, especially only a few days' notice for the Mayor to go. But in saying that, on previous, when mayors have gone overseas, they've always provided an update on the economic development and the benefits of what it would have here in Darebin. And I think it's important that we still continue that. if the Mayor attends this overseas trip. So I think the focus is still solely on the benefits of what it has here in Darebin.
So, Councillor Williams, do you have wording that you want to include as an additional dot point or additional...
That the Mayor write and provide a report on the benefits this will have to Darebin, and that's pretty much about it.
All right, if you could just write that down so that we could... If the mover and second are happy to include that third point?
I'd like to see the precise wording.
Okay, we'll wait for the precise wording and then... Councillor McCarthy, you have a question?
No, I was just going to speak in favour of the motion.
Okay, please.
And I, just before I do say that whilst I appreciate Councillor Williams' point, it's actually in the policy. It's already in the councillor policy that any councillor that attends a conference or anything, actually usually when it's on council's expenses, in fact, would provide a report. So that's already in the policy. But I think we should be enormously proud, as I mentioned before. This is a delegation or a potential involvement on behalf of ICLEI, an organisation which Council has had a long-standing association and local government has had a long-standing association with in relation to how cities act collectively on climate change. And I think that we should be not only enormously proud, as Councillor Messina has already made the point, of the fact that with our mayor, rather than any of the other 78 mayors around Victoria, or in fact speaking at is that it's actually looking at some of the most innovative technologies that are being used by cities to actually transform their energy economy, to actually support people, just as we've done here in the City of Darebin through our Solar Savers program and others, providing a whole range of people with the benefits of renewable energy and of course that great transition to a low carbon future. So we should be very proud. I can't think of a previous mayor in our history, and no offence to those mayors, previous mayors amongst us, but who would have been asked to present something like this with the expertise that our mayor brings, but also the work that we're doing, which is well represented and I think quite innovative on the world stage as well. So congratulations to Councillor Lasserre for being invited, and I think she has our full support.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Are there any other speakers?
Yes, I'll speak against the motion.
Please stay to speak.
Yes, Mr Mayor, Mr Deputy Mayor. Look, I've asked some questions about the timing on this because obviously I've had some conversations with the Mayor last year who need to attend some conferences, and that's still not in this year's budget to tackle that. So we can't tackle local climate change actions in our streets, but we're jet setting around to talk about them. I myself have been offered 2 trips to China and refused them because every freebie comes with influence expectations, and I don't think local government should be in that game, in that space. Now, obviously with her work, if the Mayor wants to go to a conference, and that's fantastic and that's terrific. But I'm not sure that the title of Mayor of Darebin should be sold so cheaply.
Deputy Mayor, I take great objection to Councillor Lawrence's comments just now, and I'd ask him to consider withdrawing. And withdrawing his last statement.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Look,
do I have an indication of which sentence exactly, or which words?
end in relation to that the mayor's position should be sold so cheaply, because I think it goes contrary to the spirit of our governance laws around paying respect to the position of mayor and actually being supportive of the position of mayor, irrespective of whether we are for or against the position that the mayor actually takes. So I would ask you to withdraw that statement that you made at the end of your speech in relation to...
Mr Mayor.
Can I hear that again, Councillor?
Yes, I can withdraw that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. You may be seated, Councillor. Thank you very much. You may be seated now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other speakers? Yes.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Greco.
Can you speak up, please?
Yes, I can. So I'd like to speak in support of the motion. I think it's a great honour that Mayor Lasserf has been invited to this conference. And I think when we're seeing 1 in 100-year floods in Darebin, we are seeing the direct impacts of climate change. And I think one of the best ways to mitigate it is by going to conferences and understanding what other leaders are doing in this space. And I think it's a very, very good opportunity for the Mayor and for the City of Darebin in our climate emergency response.
So there will be an additional third point to the recommendation that appears there, that's been moved by Councillor Reddy, and it reads like this: that the Mayor write and provide a report on what economic benefits this will have to Darebin and to the community. That is the wording. That's acceptable to the Mover and Secretary. It could be incorporated, please.
That precise wording is not acceptable, but I do have an alternative that I think meets Councillor Williams' requirements, but I won't actually accept that wording because I think it's too narrowly focused on economic benefits, and I think there are many benefits and implications to be considered.
Okay, so that's not acceptable. I just want to expedite this. I think I get a sense that in the general sentiment, it's in the policy. I think it's worthwhile to actually reflect that as a third point. So, Councillor Williams, would you like to consider...
Could I propose to Councillor Williams some wording and see if it's acceptable to her?
Yeah, no problem.
Yep. That the Mayor provide a brief report on the learnings from the conference and the potential implications for Darebin.
Yeah, you happy? Is the Secretary happy with that? Could we have that wording? I'll read it out again. So it'll be a third dot point that says that the Mayor provide a brief report on the learnings from the conference and their potential implications for Darebin, and that will be a third point as part of the motion. So it's happy, the mover's happy, the second is happy. Are there any further speakers? And if there aren't any further speakers, then the mover has the right of reply.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Greco, and I would like to exercise that right of reply. I'd like to emphasise that I think one of the strengths that we have as councillors is that we bring to this role previous experience in the community and in workplaces, and that none of us operate in a vacuum, and that in fact if we came to this role having had no previous experiences, our council would be much the weaker for it. So we are a stronger council by virtue of the life, community and work experiences that our members have, and we would be foolish not to actually recognise and value those experiences. So Councillor Lasserf has obviously particular expertise, as Councillor Lawrence has stated. I have no doubt there is some crossover between that expertise and the fact that she's been invited here today, and I have no concerns about that. As someone who's attended a great many conferences in my career, I think that the exchange of information that occurs at those conferences happens in both directions, and that exchange is in fact the quid pro quo. There is no payback, there is no kickback. It is simply a forum where one can go, learn things and teach others things, exchange information. And some months ago when we passed the Climate Emergency Declaration, one of the specific things we wanted to do was to advocate for that more broadly and to promote that direction. And so in fact here is an opportunity for Darebin to do just that. It is entirely compatible and consistent with what we've stated we wanted to do. just a couple of weeks ago, I was at State Council and put up a climate emergency motion. It was part of the same thinking. You know, this was our task to not just do that, but to make it meaningful by actually spreading the word. At that same state conference, I spoke to a motion on gambling. Why did I speak to a motion on gambling? Because I have a background in
The time's almost up.
and I think that we need to recognise that as value, and I wholeheartedly support and congratulate councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Reddy. That closes the debate on this particular motion. So those in favour, please raise your hand. Those against? Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors.
Can I call for a division?
Yeah, Councillor Osgood. Those in favour, please stand. So we have Councillor Reddy, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Vignot, Councillor Messina, Councillor Greco, and Councillor Newton. Those against? Councillor Lawrence and Councillor Williams. Thank you.
Can we just have it noted, please, in the minutes, Mayor, that councillors have previously discussed no longer exercising the practice of calling a division. This has been agreed to by councillors collectively, and I'd just like it noted that that's been an agreement of councillors at the start of this term, and disappointment that it's once again been used.
Thank you, Councillor. Look, that finalises that item. I think we can close the meeting. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.